Okay, welcome back to another part of our parenting series, part 6. Thank you to anyone listening, watching on Torah Anytime. Today I'd like to share with you 3 very important ideas. We'll call them the 3 P's, and each one has an important role in the parenting of our children. Last week in part 5, we spoke about the critical importance of developing a relationship, a close relationship with our child, with our children. And today we'll move on to 3 important ingredients, both for emotional health, relationship, and overall parenting of our children. Number 1, we need to be positive. We need to have a positive attitude towards our child. Negativity has untold damage in raising our children. Rabbi Kalish says over beautiful Gemara in Bava Metzia on Daf Pei Daled Amud Aleph. The Gemara says how one time Rabbi Yochanan was swimming in the Yarden, in the Jordan River, and Reish Lakish, who at that time was a leader of bandits, a leader of robbers, he was not in a good place. And Reish Lakish sees this beautiful person swimming in the river. He thinks that it's a female, and he jumps into the water and swims after the person in the water, Rabbi Yochanan. As he gets closer, they see each other, and Rabbi Yochanan says to Reish Lakish, your strength, cheilecha la'araisa, your strength is for Torah. Your strength, your physical might, how fast you swim, how strong you are, that strength is so beautiful for Torah. And Reish Lakish says back, your beauty is for women. And Rabbi Yochanan says to Reish Lakish, if you do tshuva, if you learn Torah, I'll marry you off to my sister who is more beautiful than me. What an unbelievable Gemara. Unbelievable. Here is Reish Lakish chasing down what he believes to be a woman. And Rabbi Yochanan sees him, and his first reaction, his first thought is not, what a lousy person you are. What a Baal Taiva you are, filled with desires, a robber, a criminal. What is Rabbi Yochanan's first thought? Your strength is for Torah. Rabbi Yochanan saw the midos, the character trait of Reish Lakish, which is now being usurped for bad, which is now being used for bad things. Rabbi Yochanan saw that as unbelievable koach, unbelievable potential for good, for Torah. And because Rabbi Yochanan saw that in Reish Lakish, Reish Lakish ends up being the great Reish Lakish that we know, the great Chavrusa, Talmud of Rabbi Yochanan. What an unbelievable lesson for us as parents and as really mechanchim as well. So many times the children that give us trouble, the children that end up, chas v'shalom, in bad places, they have a natural character traits which are challenging to raise, challenging to contain in a home or in a classroom, whether it's stubbornness, whether it's high energy, ADHD, whether it's a certain defiance, a certain chutzpah, a certain boldness. These type of character traits make it harder to manage them as children. But if only we have the vision of a Rabbi Yochanan, if we have that vision where we see their character traits not as bad because they're inconvenient today, but we see them as good, as potential, as beautiful, as wow, this child can be a great leader. This child could be a great person in Torah. Once this child's energies are channeled in the right direction, he could accomplish so much, he could perform so much kindness. That changes everything. That changes the way we see our child. And ultimately, that changes the way our child sees themselves. That is the attitude we must have, a positive attitude towards our children. When we have a negative attitude, when we look at our child as a problem child, when we become angry, frustrated, upset at our child, and we have a negative view on them, that gives them a negative view on themselves. It also causes them to have resentment against their parents. And therefore, it's a chain reaction of negative results. It's not so much their character traits. We're destined for evil. We're destined for bad. But if we see it that way, if we react that way, then chas v'shalom, it could turn out that way. We need to see them as good. I need to share with you an important idea, so important. It's not so much in parenting about what we say to our child. Oh, you're such a good boy. Oh, I know you could do it. You're such a good girl. It's not so much what we say. So much of parenting is what we are feeling, what we are thinking. Our kids, our children sense our attitude. They sense whether we love them and embrace them and have a positive look on them, positive belief in them. Or chas v'shalom, they sense when we're filled with anxiety, filled with despair, filled with worry. And as much as we could say whatever we want, they could sense what we're feeling, what we're thinking. So this is not about what we say to our child. This is working on ourselves inside, how we view our child, to have a positive look on our child, to believe in them, to see their kochos, to see their talents that maybe now are challenging, but to see them as beautiful, to see them as chelecha la'araisa, to see them as strengths that will be, be'ezus Hashem, used for tremendous, tremendous good. These children that are challenging have so much koach, many times more koach than an average child. The easy child who does everything he's told to do may not have very often the same strength, the same courage, the same guts, same leadership as the children that give us a hard time in their youth. Like we spoke about in the beginning, parenting, raising children is not about today, my 10-year-old, my 12-year-old, even my 15-year-old, 18-year-old. It's all about how they're behaving today. Are they easy to manage? Are they doing everything they're supposed to? Life is a long story. There's a long book to be written. And we have to have the belief and we have to have the vision that, okay, now they're challenging, but in Mirza Hashem, it'll be used for great things. We have to see it in the long run, not be caught up in the short run. And along these lines, we'll go to the second P. We said to be positive, and the second P is to have patience. Patience with our children. They're not yet ready to buckle down. They're not ready yet to do everything they're supposed to. We have to have tremendous patience. The bottom line is we can't force our children into good behavior. You can't force your children into loving learning or loving davening. We could be good role models, which we must be. We could hopefully develop and have our own love for Yiddishkeit, which could give over to our children. But you can't force it. As a general rule, I don't recommend forcing davening, forcing learning on our children. I don't see the long-term positive results from it. Encouragement, incentives, depends on the child's age. But forcing doesn't usually lead to good things. It leads often to resentment. Yiddishkeit is a relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a relationship to learning, to mitzvos. We need to cultivate a relationship for our children. Our children need time. Our children need our patience. At the right time, things will fall into place. It cannot be forced. It cannot be manipulated. It has to come from our child from within. We could only be there to be good supporting characters, to help our child, encourage our child, give them the emotional health, give them the tools they need. but we have to have patience to let them get there. So many times, so many youngsters, if we would just have patience, things would fall into place. However, we lose our patience and we become angry, we become frustrated, we become negative, we get filled with despair, anxiety, and then we make bad moves. We say the wrong things, we make bad decisions, and then, chas v'shalom, we push our child in the wrong direction. So often, if we would just have patience, if we would just wait, not overreact, stay calm, and let our child find themselves, they'll get there. And it's much better than our interference with anything negative, with anything harmful. We need to have that positivity. We need to have that patience. And be'ezus Hashem, things will fall into the right place. And finally, the third P is the P of peace, of shalom. First of all, an important topic, a sensitive topic, is shalom bayis, is having peace in our house, peace with our husband, with our wife. What type of house our home is, if it's a calm house, if it's a place our children want to be, makes such a difference. We want our children to be home. I know our children sometimes are difficult, especially teenagers, and maybe it's more calm, more relaxing when they're out of our house. But the bottom line is, if our child is not home, we have no control. They're out on the street, they're at friends' houses, and we have very little interaction, influence, control over what they're doing. We want our children to be home. We want them to want to be home. But if our home is full of strife, anxiety, dysfunction, it's not a place our child they're going to want to be. It's not enough. Divorce is a difficult thing for children to have to deal with. And many parents, many couples will stay together because they don't want to put their children through the trauma, through the challenges of divorce. However, we have to realize that just staying married, staying in the same house, is far from enough. Staying in the same house but not getting along is very damaging to our child. Maybe just as damaging or more damaging than divorce, which obviously is not the time or place where I can go into. But it's just as, this I'll say, just as a couple will say, we need to stay married for the sake of our children, then more so, we need to work on our relationship. We need to get along for the sake of our children. Staying married is not enough. We need to have peace between each other. And we have to do whatever it takes to have a good relationship, a calm relationship, at least as best as we can in front of our children, because otherwise there's tremendous damage. Our child doesn't want to be home. There's damage to their emotional emotional health of our child. The child will not be emotionally healthy growing up in such a home. It takes a tremendous toll on the child. So it's so important to have a home filled with shalom, filled with peace, a happy home. A home filled with anxiety is not a great place for our child to grow up. Sometimes different things cause anxiety. Financial stress, not having money is a very big stress. We have to, as much as possible, keep our child out of that stress. Try to be calm, not discuss these things in front of the children, not complain about money in front of the children. We want the children to grow up in a calm, peaceful home. That's the environment that's best for our children. That's the environment that's best for their emotional health. That's an environment that they're going to want to be in, that they're going to want to stay home. They're going to want to come home. There's no place like home. That's the best thing for our children. So let us just review today's lesson, the 3 integral P's of parenting. Number one, we need to be positive. Be positive. Believe in our child. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we believe in our child and we're optimistic that things will be good, things, Be'ezus Hashem, will be good. If we're filled with negativity, anxiety, worry, chas v'shalom, that could be a self-fulfilling prophecy to the negative. Number two, patience. Patience. Children develop and become interested in Yiddishkeit and learning at different ages. Some children just need a time till they're a little older before they're ready to become more serious. We do not want to interfere with negative reaction, overreaction, manipulation, all types of desperate attempts to get the child to learn or daven that's going to do more harm than good. Usually the best approach is stay patient, stay calm. Forcing the child to daven, to learn and other things usually just has the opposite results. Today, if they're young enough, they'll listen, they'll follow along, but it builds a resentment in them. And in the future, they carry, chas v'shalom, a negative association with learning, with davening, with Yiddishkeit, because it was forced down their throat. And they are resentful for it. And number three, third P, is peace. We need to have a home of shalom bayis. We need to try to have peace, get along with our spouse. We need to have peace in the home. Try to fill the home with simcha, with happiness, with joy. Try to keep away anxiety and stress. Keeping a happy, peaceful home is so integral for the emotional health of our child, and also our home will be a place where our child wants to be, wants to spend time there. That's the best thing if our children come home. Better our child is in our house, spending time in our house, than out in the street or in other people's homes where we have no idea what's going on with them. Thank you very much for listening.